Oh,
and then
there we go.
and then this is so my own cameraman and let's see here. So we'll come down. Okay, over, and I will come down just a tad. Just a bit.
Oh, this is
Let's
very nice.
This is Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons with my longtime friend, co-worker, former co-worker here at 14 News, David James. Welcome to Inside Look.
It is an honor to be here, and this is a beautiful studio, Jeff. It really is.
You're really laying it on thick. You must be promoting or selling something.
Well, I'm here to promote my program as well.
There you go.
2
Right.
Main Street on
Right.
WNIN.
Well, you were kind enough when you started 2 Main Street over on WNIN. I was the guinea pig, the first guest. And
You were not the first guest.
Oh, I wasn't.
No.
Who was the
Carol
first guest?
McClintock,
Oh, well, now I feel better.
who was Evansville's first lady.
You had to go that route.
Lloyd Winnicke's wife.
Yeah.
She was the first guest.
Okay.
I think you were number 2.
Well, I've been number 2 most of my life, so nothing new there. So just for a little context here, because we have a lot of listeners who may not remember you or me for that matter, a lot of younger viewers and listeners. David James was the face and voice of 14 News from 1974 to 2015, early 2015.
Correct.
Right? So
Correct.
about 41 years. And prior to that, you'd worked at WGBF, at the newspaper. We're going to get into all that in a minute. You, quote-unquote, retired, and then you turned up on WNIN, where we hear you in the afternoons during All Things Considered.
Yeah, I host a couple hours on Here and Now.
Or Here and Now. Yeah,
Here
what did I
and
say?
Now.
All Things Considered. That's
that,
the morning
that
show.
follows
Yeah.
Here and Now.
Okay.
Here and Now is kind of like the B block.
Right. And then you have 2 Main Street. So you created your very own, essentially a podcast, but on
Right.
broadcast. So.
Steve Berger, who used to work here.
Sure.
He was working at WNIN, and he approached me after I retired and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, not much."
Well,
So he said that
You were.
I was doing I did some things here for the station. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, you tried pitchmanism for a while too. You were with the
American Senior Communities. I did that bit for a while.
What was that gig like?
Well, they would approach me and to go to the certain centers.
Yeah.
And they'd have certain topics, and they'd give me kind of a rough outline for a script, very, very rough.
Right.
As I interview people and do some, it was fun. It was fun. I got to visit some interesting places and meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
It
Little money there, always nice
lasted
to
for
have.
about 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
What was that like for you to go from pure journalist, more or less, to salesman? Back to journalism. Was it weird now, kind of being on the other side?
I was a very soft sell.
Oh, I know. It
was very soft sell.
You're not allowed sport jacket. Everything must go on.
I was kind of doing the meat of the story,
right?
And they'd have somebody announcing the other stuff on the front and the end of it.
As we call a donut, right? So it's kind of sanitized thing.
It was kind of institutional
right.
advertising. That's how I got away with it.
Well, let's start with your beginnings, because I know, of course, you're Evansville native, grew up on the southeast side. You went to Glenwood and Lodge, right?
Or Glenwood, Lodge, and Bossy.
And Bossy.
Well, Lodge, Glenwood, and Bossy in that order.
Okay. And when did you get in? And you're one of 5 children, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let me see if I can name them, just to see if I can.
You have done your homework.
There's Carrie, youngest,
yes.
and then
Carrie ran for mayor.
That's right. That's a whole nother podcast with Carrie, right? We'll have to get him on. Then you have an older brother, Dennis. No, you're the oldest.
Yes, I'm the oldest of 5.
Okay. Then Dennis, Linda, and there's the other one I can never. Well, don't tell me. Not Susan. That's your wife. Kim.
Yes.
Did I get them all?
Yes, but not in right order. But that's okay.
Okay.
I'm the oldest. Then Dennis. Then Carrie. Then Kim and Linda.
So you're growing up in the 50s, southeast side.
Right.
41 is Kentucky Avenue. It's hopping out there. You're a crossing guard. Well, seedy motels, restaurants.
Well,
and,
yeah,
so
but
on
that's
and so
kind of it. I would walk to Glenwood, and this was before before you had any decent crossings on Highway 41.
Right.
We'd cross Highway
So you're a
41.
survivor.
Well, basically a survivor. And some people had goats in their yard, and the goats would chase us as we walked to school. That was kind of exciting.
That must have been the basis of your fascination with critter stories.
Maybe it is. Maybe I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Being chased by goats on the way to Glenwood Middle School.
So, and then you were a celebrated crossing guard at Lodge. I've seen the plaque. There is evidence out there.
There is?
There is, yeah. You were like crossing
that.
guard of the year 1950.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I know I have a plaque at Glenwood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, you spread your talents around, didn't
I didn't
you?
know I had a plaque at Lodge.
Yeah, I
I'll
took
have
a
to go
picture
check
of it.
that out.
I know. So then, and now you're at Bossy. At what point did the newspaper writing thing kind of come in for you?
There was a little paper at Glenwood called the Glenwood Views, and I wrote a couple of articles for the Glenwood Views. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Get your byline on there and
Yeah.
everything. And it wasn't, a big deal. And then went to Bossy and then worked for the School of Spirit. You got a little more exposure there. And then I worked for the yearbook. And then when I got to the University of Evansville, started working on the Crescent. And then it was, wow, that was exciting.
And you were the editor-in-chief, right? The big guy for a period.
Yeah, I eventually became editor of the Crescent. I was also the sports editor of the Crescent, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
And I got to go sit on the floor level at Roberts Stadium for the big games.
And this is when U of E was
when
absolutely on
when they
fire.
would play Kentucky Wesleyan, and they had 13,000 people in Roberts Stadium. That place was rocking, and I'm sitting right on the floor. It was so exciting.
Did you have the fedora and the press pass,
No,
up
I
there and the brim and all that stuff?
No, but I got to hobnob with some of the sports folks, and that was exciting.
And so then the next step for you was the Sunday Courier and Press, or were you at which paper? I know
I was at the Evansville Courier.
you were at the Courier, but
When I was working at
Okay.
when I was a University of Evansville student, I was working part-time at the Courier, and I was doing obituaries at the Courier.
riveting.
And I would, I would go in the evenings and call all the not the nursing homes, the funeral homes.
Funeral homes, right? Well, you could call the nursing
Well,
home.
that's
Are you
true.
going to have any for me? I'm a little short here.
What room is the cat going
Right.
into next? One of those kind of deals. Then I would call all the funeral homes in 3 states, because we covered 3
Sure,
states.
yeah.
Western Kentucky, Southern Illinois, and Southern Illinois, and then all the Evansville funeral homes. There's a lot of funeral homes on that list.
And obituary writing was kind of the first thing they made everybody do, right? To make sure you got your T's crossed, your I's dotted. I mean, you had to be
Yes.
right. You had to be
Yes,
correct.
because people cut these things out and put it in the Bibles, and they save them for generations. So that was very, and yeah, it was because you don't want to miss a time on a funeral, and that's it.
Right.
They don't have a make do on a funeral.
At some stage, though, you began to write more featurey kind of stuff, traveled around a little
That's
bit.
when I
right?
went to the Sunday Courier and Press,
That's what I'm thinking.
and that was more of because they had the deadline was Saturday night, so we covered the news Saturday night for Sunday. But we'd also do features during the week, and for the Sunday Look, which was kind of
Oh,
their
the Look
feature
section.
magazine.
Yeah, it had the TV listings in there, too.
Yeah, and they had all the feature stories. That was kind of cool because you could go to these interesting places across the tri-state and write these stories.
How'd you find your stories? Like, did an editor say, "Kid, we're sending you to Carmi to cover Fighting Billy Seal," or did you? How did you?
That was the desk would come up with some story ideas, and you would come up with some on your own. But they had this thing called the Progress Edition, where they would sell blocks of
Right.
the newspaper to certain communities, and you have to fill it with copy. And you go to these towns and find out what's going on and fill it. And
Right.
usually they're planning something. They're always planning something.
New water treatment plant.
Yes,
In 20 years or something.
New bond issues coming up.
Oh, man.
But you had to kind of spin it and make it interesting.
Yeah.
So I would try to find something really quirky in these towns, and I usually would.
So was newspaper what you had hoped it would be? I mean, obviously, then you gravitated toward radio. So when did that break come for you, and why?
Well, I guess my journalism professor at the University of Evansville, he was also working part-time in radio and television. And he kind of thought, you ought to try broadcasting. So he got me hooked up with WGBF, and the Joel Deckard, who was the news guy there, who ran for Congress.
Yeah, congressman at one point.
And
yeah.
he was elected.
Yeah.
So they had a vacancy at WGBF. So, hey, why not? So I took Joel Deckard's position there. Of course, Joel Deckard ran into a utility pole.
Had a little too much to drink one night.
And that kind of ended his political career. But anyway, I hung on at WGBF. And then there was an opening at Channel 14. And through Bob Byler, connections. I got to have a meeting with Larry Pond, who was the news director then, and got hired on a spot.
Came on
really.
over. Well, how long were you at WGBF?
I was there about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
And you were working with some legends of the time, right? J.C. Curlin was
J.C.
still
Curlin
there,
was
who
the
was
news
like
director.
Mr. News in Evansville.
Well,
Yes?
his newspaper crew went back into the 1930s. You know, he knew all these people, you know, from all the old police chiefs and all the old mayors and everything. Knew all the dirt on all these
But that
people.
had to be fascinating
Oh,
for
it
you
was.
to talk
And
to these guys.
And he was a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
You know, he was kind of growly.
Little fun fact, I never knew the word curmudgeon until I met you. And now we may
No,
both be curmudgeons,
I'm,
you know?
I'm definitely, ask my wife, I'm a curmudgeon.
Oh, I don't know. Are you gadfly or and that was another word I learned from you, too. You had a great vocabulary, by the way.
Maybe I'm a combination of the two. I have to come up with a new word for that one.
A gumshoe. Well, now that's more of a detective
Yes,
or
I'm not,
whatever.
not a gumshoe.
So, and then you work with Mar Bates, who was known at WGBF, who was known for recreating, at that time, triplets games. He would have the sound effects in the studio and read the ticker. And
That was fascinating to watch him, and he became he got national exposure. What's the
back
fellow's
on the
name?
Today Show or
it's Tomorrow Show with, I can't think of his
not
name
Tom
right.
Snyder, but
Yes,
oh,
it was Tom Snyder.
Okay,
Yeah, that's it. He was on the Tom Snyder Show. So that was interesting to see him do that. And, of course, Marv was an interesting character. Of course, Marv died in the plane crash
Sure, with
the
the University of Evansville
basketball team. And covering that event certainly matured me in the broadcasting industry.
Yeah.
But it's been a great ride at Channel 14. And,
Yeah, so you came in here in 1974, local
December of
73. That's right, because Mike Blake he and Jenny had Christine, right? And you had to fill in on.
That was my first on air.
Yeah.
I think it was my first day on the job or my second day on the job, and they said, Blake's not going to be here to do sports, so you're doing the sports. I said, okay.
Here you go.
But, they just threw me in. And
did you get any coaching or training? Like, here's where you
Are you
look. When that
kidding?
No, I'm not, actually.
Are you kidding?
I thought back then they onboarded people.
You got 5 minutes to fill the show, come up with something. And no guidance, and of course not.
But local news in the 70s was much different than what we know today. I mean, it tended to be a little drier in the video. And looking back, and you and I are history people, we like to look at old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they showed body bags and people jumping out of buildings and blood. And it was very in-your-face kind of stuff. And it seemed to be all news. You didn't have many light stories in there.
Not too
Maybe
many
a feature
features.
at the end, but and that was driven, I guess, by that newspaper and then radio ethos. You're just it's news, and you are a hard newsman. But then, of course, you weathered. Being in it 40 years, the consultants came in and said, "Hey, you could make money doing the local news. We'll make your anchor team into a family and all that stuff." Do you remember when that kind of started trickling into your existence here?
Yes, the 14 gang.
Yeah, that was in the mid-'70s too, right? The James Gang.
The James Gang, James 14 Gang. We went to Kentucky territory, dressed up as cowboys, and had shootouts with our scripts.
All in the efforts of trying to gain viewers. It's like, these guys are fun, and they know the news, right?
Yes, the James Gang. There's still a poster.
Somewhere, probably in your basement.
I have that. Yeah, I took that one with me because I didn't want that on public display.
So, but they've had many different iterations, I guess, of this, what I would call kind of packaged news.
Yeah,
like
14 Country had
action
that.
news and eyewitness news. Of course, we had 14 Country News.
Live I-14 was one of the biggies when we had our live unit. We promoted the heck out of that.
Yeah. Well, it's all about promotions and marketing to some extent. I mean, we're at all three stations at that time kind of competing for the same
But you still had to crank it
stories.
out every day.
Well, that's what I was going to get at. So no matter what the banner was or the marketing was or the this, that, or the other, you still had to produce the goods day in, day out, on and on and on and on. That had to be a little bit of a pressure point.
I try to ignore the consultants as much as possible.
You can say that on here. They don't watch this.
I know it. And I figure the people are tuning in to watch the news.
They're either going to watch or not, right?
Right. And we're familiar faces. They know that we research this stuff. We don't throw crap on the air.
Yeah.
we try to make sure it's factual.
Yeah.
And we were really concerned about putting on a good product, and we really worked hard at it. And I think people appreciated that. And I don't think the bells and whistles are nice, but you got to have some meat.
Yeah.
Where's the beef?
And you were definitely, newsman all the way down the line. I mean, you'd be checking stuff right up to airtime, on the phone during the break,
Well, I'm
making
paranoid.
sure.
I'm paranoid. I
Well,
don't wanna
that's
put
true. We
something
don't
on
want a
this.
lawsuit. Those don't go over well.
I
but-
figure that's your credibility. If you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah. So you do the news here for 40 plus years. What were some highlights? What did you like the most when you were doing it? You mentioned earlier before we started, we had, as of this recording, we are coming off of 2 weeks of historic severe weather in the area. We have the river at a near record high, at least from 1997. Had a tornado outbreak a couple weeks ago. A lot going on, and you kind of relished severe weather coverage.
Well, you got so excited about it. It got me excited about
Yeah.
it. And I just thought, that's breaking news, and that affects people's lives. I mean, this is important stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you were on it.
Yeah.
You were on it big time. And I'd see you out there struggling sometimes because you'd be on several hours on this, nonstop coverage.
Right.
And I said, I got to do something. So I'd be manning the phones and trying to give you a break.
It's really, when we first started doing wall-to-wall coverage years ago, I mean, this has been 20, 25 years ago, even like the Petersburg tornado in 1990, we just did cut-ins. I mean, this was an F4 tornado that flattened a third of the town and killed 8 people, but the standard coverage in those days in 1990, we broke in. And they were long, you might be on 3-4 minutes. I mean, that is unfathomable today. You would have been on the day before and covering it, the day past. But when it came to that wall-to-wall coverage where we had to keep it going, there's an excitement because you're watching breaking news happen in real time. You're getting that must be the thing that excited you. I'm looking at the radar and the weather, as are my people on my team, Byron and Arden and Michael. But you've got information coming in, tree on house and this, that, and the other.
And with all the advancements in weather, I mean, you can see this storm actually approaching your neighborhood.
Yeah,
and you can tell what time it's going to arrive.
It's compelling.
And
it really is.
And
It's
how
like
strong it's going to
play
be.
by play. But, from that, I'll think of, there are a couple of incidents that we shared together that I always think about and laugh. One was we got a call up here. You'll remember this one night. And these guys, we got a big old catfish we caught over at Garden Park. You got to come down and see them. And we drove down. It was just down here on Florence or right next to the
That's
station.
right.
Do you remember that?
I remember
that. This hideous catfish was on the tailgate of a truck, big bloated belly.
Probably been there a day or two.
Oh, I know. And this is pre-internet, so we could take pictures and share them immediately. I think we took a camera, didn't we? And we got a sound bite. And so we got David, fresh off the 6 o'clock news, down there, and we're giving this catfish the same gravity that we would give, like the moon landing. But you love that stuff.
Oh, well, it's
And they were thrilled to see you, too.
Oh, it's Americana.
David
baby.
James, I mean, they didn't care about me, but when you stepped out of the car, it was like everything stopped in the neighborhood.
Well, I love a good fish story.
Yeah.
I love going to,
We've
going to ponds.
We've done a little fishing over the years,
You
too.
did we did the Andy Griffith thing. Remember one
Oh,
time?
yeah, where we went out. Well, we solicited viewers to invite us to their ponds, and we
Right.
would come fish. And we went to one it was in Grayville. Do you remember
Yes,
that? On a
yeah.
rainy day, and caught the living daylights out of the fish.
And we were celebrities in
Well,
Grayville.
you were,
Oh,
because
well.
you had connections somehow in Illinois, and it was a big deal that David James, was out slucking around their lake catching these bluegills and stuff.
But they'd invite townspeople to come to the lake too, and
Right, to see you, and did they present you with a key to the lake or
meet
anything?
and greet. And we actually caught fish. That's good. I didn't want to go there and just get skunked.
We caught a lot of fish.
We did?
Yeah, and I was documenting all this, and then we'd show it on the news that night, and to mild response.
It was much to our delight.
Yeah, we liked it.
We
We
kinda
just
did it
did it
for
for
our
us. We
benefit.
didn't care about anybody else. So.
We got away with a lot of stuff, didn't we?
We did. They didn't really.
Your animated dog got away with a lot.
Yeah, we used to, at the end of the news, the computer graphics, I could draw cartoons on it. And I had this little character named Scuffy, the Newswatch dog, and Scuffy would do different things related to the weather. Well, then Scuffy got farther and farther down the pike, and then the station was represented in kind of an unfavorable way. It always looked kind of seedy.
Yeah.
And
Scuffy did some political commentary.
again, a little
I mean,
political stuff, which is very risky. And you loved it. Of course, you had to dummy up on the air, right? And kind of no. But I could tell. You gave the same grin you're giving right now. It's like we're putting one over on the man.
Well, when you would dress up in costume and do the weather too, that just the Ben Franklin bit was very good.
It was the high point of my costume career here, and I was told never to do it again. We had a manager who said, that made me really uncomfortable. Don't ever do that again. And then not long after, some research came from the consultants.
We love it.
And we were strong in costume, but we were a little soft in severe weather, so that was a problem. So we had to kind of
But people
ditch that.
love that.
I know they loved it.
And that's why you're so successful.
Well, I don't know about that, but things have moved along. Well, let's talk more about you. So after you left here, you kind of decompressed after 40 years doing that. But then you recompressed because here you are on WNIN, and you're the big man on campus over there, right?
Oh, it's very low-key there, Jeff. Very low-key. You've been over to the station.
I have. It's nice.
Oh, and nobody's really stressed out. Everybody's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They do their thing. They do their job. They go home. There's no
and,
cursing.
And when you listen to public radio, it's all kind of
Not that there was a lot of cursing here, but there was some.
Well, a little bit. But it's all public radio, very subdued. You know, the delivery. I listen to All Things Considered and Fresh Air and some of those shows. And you, of course. And to Main Street, which I wanted to talk about. So did you come in with that idea, or how did that start out?
Well, they came up with an idea of having doing a program of some sort.
Right.
And an interview like this. And I said, well, and they said, we need a name for it. And I said, well, that's our address, 2 Main Street, right there in downtown Evansville. And I said, let's just go with that. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then I said, well, if I'm doing this thing, I need to pick the guests. You know, I don't want to get, people that I don't
beholden to somebody.
Because if we're doing a 50-minute show, it has to be somebody that I'm interested in, and the topic has to be very interesting to me. And I just said, okay, well, I'll do it, but I'm picking my guess, and they've never challenged me on that.
Well, who's going to challenge David James?
Well,
it never happened.
And the thing is, if I don't want to do it, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
What
are they going to do? Right.
I mean, I just leave. But
they'll make you host the auction. That's what they'll do.
Well, I've done some auction.
I know. Yeah.
We've had to auction off on a product called Bee Vomit, which was a honey product.
Yeah.
When they hold it, I said, well, the marketing's pretty bad on that one.
Yeah.
Bee Vomit, I'm not really.
But that's right up your alley.
Well, it is.
You would have written the 30-second reader in 14 News back in the day. You would have slid that in.
I would have said, the Bee Vomits on sale at this marketplace. But no, I've had some really interesting guests on, and the research is fun. That's the part of it. I
was going to ask what your process is. Like, I know you're an avid reader, and you know what's going on. So then do you just reach out to like you called Carrie Preston, who it was a UE
Elsbeth,
alum,
right.
In Elsbeth now. She was actually a roommate of my sister when my sister Leanne was at U of E. And they were just like that. They roomed together. I could have given you that. I didn't know it either until Leanne heard your interview on 2 Main Street. She said, "Oh, Carrie was roommate, And,
my gosh! Well, I'm trying to get her again because when I interviewed her, I said, "Well, good luck with season 3."
Right.
And she said, "Well, you know more than I do." So now she's got season 3 lined up. So I'll reach out to her again. And
so how did that come about? You saw the show and you realized she was a UE alum.
And I contacted. I said on a whim. I said, "I'm just going to send this email to CBS." Marketing,
right?
And I got this lady named Victoria on email, and I never heard back. I said, well,
and you didn't expect to.
No,
either,
I said, well,
right.
I'll just throw it out there, and if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And then, like about 3 or 4 months later, out of the blue, I can get Carrie for you, but she doesn't want to be on camera. We can do radio, and I said, that's fine.
Yeah.
So they got it set up with her, and she was great.
And so it goes like that. I know you've had Ted Haycraft, who has done a podcast with me here, a local expert on pop culture, comics, the illustration scene, movies, all that. Yes. And you really seem to enjoy those, especially.
Get Ted going on anything.
Yeah.
He gets so excited. I love it.
And you, I don't know, there's something about watching you on 2 Main Street versus the news. And on the news, it's not a laugh riot most nights. But 2 Main Street, you can really see the joy, of what we do, that storytelling and broadcasting.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So you also have, you've kind of ventured into politics a little bit. Yes or no?
I try to stay away from it because, I just stay away from it because my show I can't date it.
Well, that's true.
You
Yeah, they
know,
have to be evergreen. So,
They have to be evergreen.
Yeah.
So if you do something really topical, it's dated.
yeah.
So I try to talk about people who've written books or their past, which is not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's, like we say in business, evergreen. That I can do an interview in March and it's still good next January.
Right. Interesting.
Because I interviewed the Mustang Adoption Academy in Gibson County recently, and these people in the little ranch outside Hopsouth, they go and get these horses, Mustangs, that are rounded up by the government, and they bring them back and they what's called gentle them,
Right.
and then veterans, they pair them with veterans.
Interesting. Now, how'd you find that story?
Well, I got a tip on that one.
Yeah.
People now that I'm
It's interesting.
established.
You're established. The leads
I get
start
all
to
kinds
come
of
in.
ideas now. When
Yeah.
I first started, I kind of beat the bushes,
Sure.
But now they come to me, and I can kind of pick and choose.
So you found the perfect retirement career, even though you're sort of quasi-retired, would you say, or you're still working journalist?
I say semi-retired,
I like that.
but I kind of come and go as I please and do what I want to do. So it's a perfect retirement gig.
Yeah.
It really is, and I just enjoy talking to all these interesting people. I've got let's see, who else do I got? The Trinity United Methodist Church. These are news items too, folks. If you're listening, bicentennials
The
coming
plugs
up.
begin.
Bicentennials coming up of Trinity United Methodist Church. 200 years in the community.
That's unbelievable.
That is amazing. Evansville Living Magazine celebrating its 25th anniversary. I've got a lady coming in, an author coming in. She's compiled the secret, weird places of Indiana. New books. Jamie Ward, she's coming down from northern Indiana. We'll interview her. Willard Library's in there. Your Brother's Bookstore's in there. A place in Huntingburg. It's a former bank. They've turned it into a restaurant, and you can actually dine in the vault of the bank.
Yeah, that's where I would want to go, too. I would want to be in the vault if I were going to dine.
I mean, all kinds of just weird stuff like
Yeah.
that. Of course, I love that stuff.
That's right.
Weird foods. I love that.
And so personally, you're doing a little elder care. You're also, your daughter is in Louisville now, an artist, art teacher,
Yes.
and married, of course, moving. And so you've got stuff going on where that you now have time to,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We spend some
Time for
more
life, too.
More time with her. My wife, she's nearing retirement. We've got several trips planned. So just living the good life.
What's the farthest flung place you've gone where you were recognized? There's David James from Evansville, like were you in New Delhi or, some odd place?
Kyiv, Ukraine.
Oh, my goodness. You want to talk about going to Kyiv real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Because our station, WFIE, this would have been about 2000-ish, was in a partnership
Right.
through the
It was like
RTNDA.
like 2005 or 7.
And we had a sister station in
Ternopil.
in Ternopil in Ukraine. Of course,
Right.
at that time there wasn't a war going on.
Correct.
And we did an exchange program. They came here and saw how we did stuff, the American way. And then you all went there.
Right.
For what purpose?
We helped them set up this is, right after 9/11.
Yeah.
We traveled overseas, which was an interesting, because everybody was really heightened.
I'm sure.
Security, and everybody was alarmed. But anyway, we went over there. They're developing a television station, and they were in an old Soviet radar outpost.
Well, you had the electronics anyway and the antenna.
Old cosmonaut
Right.
murals on the wall.
Yeah.
It was really kind of creepy and very austere.
Right up your alley.
It was, basically.
Your perfect setting.
But anyway, we helped them get settled. They had vodka for lunch. That was nice over there. Now they're really, they moved into a new building. They're doing all kinds of great stuff at Channel 4 in Ternopil. Still follow them. And they're, they do war stories. I mean, the veterans coming back and rehab, and they do a lot of war relief stories. But they're doing well.
Had you ever traveled, quote unquote, behind the Iron Curtain before? I mean, that would be considered back in the day behind the Iron Curtain, right? You were definitely
they were an independent nation then. They were not part of the
Soviet
Russia.
Right.
Then they didn't like Russia then because they still had memories of being part of the Soviet Union.
Sure.
I have been to St. Petersburg, Russia. Of course, I probably can't go back now for a while. but I went there a few years ago before all this happened,
Right.
before the invasion of
Ukraine.
Ukraine. And I liked St. Petersburg. It was a beautiful city.
Were you recognized there?
No, it wasn't. People on the ship
Yeah.
kind of knew me from the tri-state. It's just weird. We were on in Rome at the Vatican on another trip, and you go up into the top there, and there's a cupola up there, and there's a little walkway around there. We're up there, maybe 10 people up there. A couple from Fort Branch was up there. Hey, David James.
Yeah.
So,
I thought you were going to tell me the Pope said, "Hey,
No.
DJ, how's it going?
No.
Did you convert yet?" No.
no,
Okay.
but of all people,
Yeah.
a handful of people, and a couple from Fort Branch was up there. On
That's interesting.
The cupola.
But you
And-
you made your mark in your career.
But it's amazing how people around here travel. It's great. We were on the English Channel, crossing the English Channel, and people came from Mount Vernon. We were in Oslo on a tram, and some people from Owensboro or someplace were in there, and they got on the tram with us in Norway. It's great.
That's interesting. So more travel for you, a little bit of broadcasting there in the semi-retirement,
Sure.
and
Let's keep
more
it coming.
guests to come on 2 Main Street. I appreciate you carving out a little time for me here.
Well, Jeff, always a pleasure. I like your new digs here. It's a beautiful setup. I know you've got a lot of you've had a lot of interesting guests so far. I mean, I was down low on the list, but that's all right.
No.
I'm not offended.
So I just record them when I can get people, and I throw them in a bucket, and then somebody else decides when to release them. So, because I wash my hands of that part of the editorial process, I just wanted to talk to people.
Well, I understand Ted Haycraft. I talked to him earlier, and he said you interviewed him, but he hasn't been on
He's
the
still
air.
waiting. He's in the green room.
Oh,
But,
he's still in the green.
At
But
some point, he will.
He's
be
hoping
here.
he didn't get cut.
Oh, I don't think he got cut. Nobody
right.
gets cut.
Well, Jeff, congratulations.
Thank you, David.
I'll hit the
Well, that's
microphone
right.
here.
Okay,
you know.
we'll shake the
All
other
right,
hand
take
there.
care.
I appreciate you coming out. This has been Inside Look with David James. I'm Jeff Lyons. Thanks for listening and for watching. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch on the 14 News YouTube channel.
And don't forget 2 Main
and
Street
2
on
Main Street.
WNIN. I'll promote it. What the heck?
You're shameless. That's right.
I
And
am.
2
I
Main
am.
Street on WNIN. Thanks for watching and listening.